So now we have all those records, all those files which are required for our training process. One thing which I missed out when we extracted the records is where we keep that specific file, that generate TF records. So that generate TF records, that specific file which we saw, wherein we created the train records and TF records, are kept in a folder called scripts, and then under pre-processing, and we have kept that generate TF record. So when we run this, we have to get into this specific folder to run this specific this specific record or the specific file. Now let's get into the training process. So as we said, now what we are going to do is we are going to do a custom training. So it's not those classes which already comes with the TensorFlow object detection API. Now ours is pothole detections and other things which are around it. So we are doing a custom training. However, we are not doing a training from scratch. What we are doing is we are taking some pre-trained models which has already been trained, different architectures of models, and then we are training on top of it. That's what we are going to do. So it's not from the scratch, but it's like a transfer learning. We're going to train on top of it. So all those different types of models can be downloaded from a specific GitHub. So this is the GitHub for the object detection API. I've got it here. So you find so many different types of models, pre-trained models here. So we will be taking one of them, which is SSD ResNet V1 FPN 640 to 640. There are different types of ResNet, different types of models also, faster RCN and mask RCN and so many other things. So now since we are doing with this SSD, maybe I would encourage you to try out different of these models also, like say for example MobileNet. Now we are doing ResNet or a faster RCN, and any of these models I think you should try out. So let's proceed with the model which we want. So the pre-trained model which we are trying to do is this SSD ResNet. So once you click on this, a tar file gets downloaded into your local folder, and that tar file, once you extract the tar file, you will find a folder structure like this. A folder structure like this, SSD ResNet 50. Is this with these different folders, checkpoint, save points, and then file pipeline.config file. So what you do is you copy the complete folder structure right from here, the SSD. You copy the complete folder structure and then keep it under the pre-trained models. So this is a folder. So I've copied and kept it here. I've done another one with faster RCN also. So you can also try any of this model. So for each of those specific models which we want to try, it will be a separate folder altogether. We just copy the complete folder structure with all this pipeline config and all this stuff, and copy it here. The next step is so this is the pre-trained models which we are there. Now we are going to copy, or we are going to create a folder inside the models. So we have created a models folder also, and this is where we are going to customize many of the configurations. So inside the models, so we create another folder called my SSD ResNet 50 v1.fpn. So it's a name similar to this SSD ResNet. So we are naming it as my SSD ResNet fpn, and you copy only this config file, the pipeline config file, only this file you just copy and then keep it here. And then now what we need to do is we need to change many of these configuration parameters there. So let's look at the older, the original pipeline config file. So this is the original pipeline config file. So you will see many of these many of the configurations which already exist as different, like number of classes is 90, etc. So we are going to change that. So there are different changes which needs to be made. So let's look at what are those changes which needs to be made. So the first change is in line 3 where the number of classes are there. So like in the original file the number of classes is 90. That's what comes with the original Cocoa file. So when we copy it into the models my SSD, I'll open this also. I've already made those changes here. So this is the file. So the changes, we have only 4 classes, so we have to make that change here as 4. So let's see what's the next change. Next change is line 131 for the batch size. Depending on the number of examples, you need to change the batch size. So line number 131. So here it is. So here the batch size is 64. So if you remember, we have only around 18 images. So we have to change the batch size to a much smaller count. So but if you have lots of images, obviously you can adopt whatever batch size we have. So we have adopted a batch size of just 4 because we only have 16 images in the training set. So that's a change which has been done. Change 3 is to number of training steps. Okay, this is just optional. So let's look at 152 and 54 in the original file. So 152 and 54. So here if you look at it, the total steps is around 25,000 and warm-up steps is around 2,000. So 25,000 is a lot of steps, and you will see that it will take a lot of time. Now so it depends on the speed of your computer and how much time you have. What I've done is I've changed it to around 400 steps and warm-up steps at around 100. So this is purely left to you, depending on how much time you have, what is the capacity of your machine, etc. You can change the total number of steps. This is the number of epochs which it is going to execute. So you change here also, number 162 also. All these places you have to change. Now the next change is line number 161, where we give the path to the pre-trained model. So here the original path 161, you have to give the path to be configured, it is given. So you have to give the path to the pre-trained models. You have to give the checkpoints. So here under the pre-trained models, this is a SSD, you have a checkpoints, and this is the checkpoint which we have to give. So you have to give the path till here, path till this file, and then just give the and the checkpoint folder also, checkpoint folder, and then just represent the checkpoint as CKPT0, because that's the best checkpoint which we have. So we're going to take the pre-trained models from where it's from the best model, from its best model, and then we are going to pre-train it from there. So the next change which we will bring to the config file is the on line number 167. So let's look at what is line number 167. So here what you can see is the fine-tune checkpoint. Here it is given as classification, but our project is not classification, but it's a detection. So here we will have to change it to 167 as detection from classification. So this is the change file. On the right hand side is the change file what we are clicking now, and this is the original file. So that change we'll have to make. And always remember these changes are made to the config file which we've copied in our own folder, in the models folder under MySSD ResNet 50 v1. We copied this pipeline.config, and that is where we are making the changes. So similarly, every model which you run, you just copy the pipeline config file here and then make those changes here. Say for example, I have done this for the faster RCNN also, so that changes are reflected there. Okay, so that's just a deviation. So let's get back to the next change which we'll have to make. So this changes in line 172 and 174. Let's look at that. 172 and 174. So here we have to give the path to the label map path and the input path. So in our case, one is, so here we have give the path to the label map PB text. So here it is annotation underscore backslash label map dot pbxt, because the folder or the API looks at from the root folder, which for our case is from models. So from models you have annotations here, workspace and annotations, and then label map. So that's the path which we have to give for this. And also the train record input path is the train record. That's what we are going to give. So we have to give the train records also, which is again under the annotation folder. Okay. Next change is 182 and 186. Yeah, so let's look at the old one. So there is no so again it's passed to be configured. So 182 and 86 is again the label map and the test record. So here is for the test record. So here is for evaluation, here is for train. So that's why we are giving the train record, and here we are going in the test record. So those are the changes which we have to make in the config file. So let me close both these config files, as you remember, these config files, the changes are made in the models folder, which we have, not the pre-trained ones. We copy from the pre-trained models, save it into the models folder under a folder which we create for that specific network or specific model which we are going to run this, and this is where we change this. Now we are kind of ready for a training process, and then next we will run the training process, run the training. And again the training process is again through a script and a file which comes as part of this, and that's what we will do next.